People on the internet aren't always who they say they are. Okay, I promise I have a better setup later in the video. This is just this part. People on the internet aren't always who they say they are. I know, shocking. But in all seriousness, the internet's ability to anonymize its users while simultaneously being the largest form of mass communication humankind has ever seen has led to some, we'll say, extensive consequences. In our day-to-day, this means we just have to sort of trust that the person on the other end of the screen isn't lying. But inevitably some of them will be. And the intentions of those using the internet as a mask to create a new personality vary. From 9-year-old children attempting to intimidate you by claiming to be expert hackers, to random emailers claiming to be foreign princes who are just desperate to give you their money. But with the advent of video platforms like YouTube, these personas could expand even further. And sometimes they are intent on tricking you. Other times though, people will use their accounts as a sort of art piece, creating a fake person as a means to explore acting and writing in a form unique to the internet. I've been calling this phenomenon making up a guy. You just create a fake person, a person who does not exist, and let them interact with the internet through you. Some of my earliest memories of things like this are through tutorial parodies. I still have Ed Latin videos stuck in my head.
Okay, so let's go. First of all, start with the Jesus balls.
A channel which featured a character with a unique voice giving lessons on how to draw, in a very interesting way.
When life gives you lemon balls, you got, okay, here's how you draw a lemon.
Going even further back, You Suck at Photoshop genuinely did teach you how to use Photoshop.
My name is Donnie, and you suck at Photoshop. You do, you're awful, and that's why you're here. All right, let's get started.
It just also happened to include an unfurling plot about the uploader and his life.
Let's just say for hypothetical that you really want to do some shit to this Vanagon. And I mean the real Vanagon. But let's also say that there's a restraining order that prevents you from getting close enough to do that kind of shit to it. So let's have Photoshop do the dirty work for us.
Sure, parody is nothing new, but what the internet allowed users to do is interact with these fake people directly and immediately. And the users behind the fake person could further expand their presence, having social media accounts and leaving comments on other videos. In that way, the fake people become semi-real, as their presence on the internet further cements them alongside all the other users, who in some respects are just slightly more honest masks for the person behind them. Today, I want to talk about a few different series that make up a guy. One could argue that I talk about that a lot, being that I cover a lot of unfiction and ARGs, but these are a little different. The running theme here won't be horror, instead the specific way they characterize and treat the people at the center of their stories. Let's talk about some people that aren't real. To start, I want to talk about Henry's Kitchen, created by Henry Phillips. Henry Phillips is a stand-up comedian and musician. He's made movies, has appeared on Comedy Central, and is generally a pretty accomplished performer and writer. His style can vary, but one recurring theme is a self-deprecating slant. Where our interest really starts, though, is with his YouTube channel. Created in 2006, early uploads showcase what you might expect, old clips and songs from his stand-up. But on August 5th, 2011, he uploaded a video titled Henry's Kitchen, How to Make Killer Oven-Baked French Toast. Interesting career pivot, but maybe this is just one of Henry's other passions, and YouTube, like it did for many people, opened up an avenue for him to share it. Let's take a look.
Hello, and welcome to Henry's Kitchen, where today we're going to be making delicious oven-baked French toast. French toast was originated by the French in the early 6th century, and they called it pain perdu, which in English translates to lost bread. And then later in the 16th century, Henry V. Well, let's get started.
Even in just the opening seconds, we can get a pretty clear picture of what's in store here. Throughout the rest of the video, Henry stumbles his way through creating this French toast, despite missing many of the ingredients and utensils necessary for doing so. Along with his trouble making the French toast itself, his editing and hosting abilities are just as amateur, including lots of dead space and baffling cuts.
I got a little bit of shell in there. I like to kind of hold it like this. Okay, so now we're going to add a couple of items.
After an oddly depressing piano break while he waits for his toast to cook, he returns to find his oven has failed to bake the French toast at all. Moving instead to the toaster oven, he returns to find them completely charred beyond edibility. He ends the video just eating a piece of plain, uncooked bread.
Sometimes the bread's pretty good just by itself. Thanks a lot for joining me, and tune in next week when we're going to talk about how to make garlic bread.
This episode, out the gate, pretty much perfects the formula his Henry's Kitchen videos will continue to have, opening with some brief information about the food itself before diving headfirst into Henry's cooking as he fumbles his way through the recipes. Always seeing them through to the end despite the many mistakes, all with a veneer of confidence that is clearly false. Henry's demeanor is awkward, and he has an air of sadness about him, and he ends most, but not all, of his videos with something completely inedible or unrecognizable from what he set out to make. But you know, despite it all, it does make me kind of hungry. I might need to hit the kitchen myself. Hello, and welcome to Sagan's Kitchen. Today, we'll be making delicious air fryer baked French toast, just like Henry used to make. I have Henry's cookbook here. His list of ingredients says a loaf of French bread. I don't have that, but I do have a regular loaf of bread. 2 eggs. I don't have any eggs, but I do have some egg whites in a carton. I do have milk, so I don't have any salt, but you know, salt makes things salty. I don't want to make my French toast salty. Vanilla extract, which I don't have, but just like Henry, I do have some syrup, so we'll use that. And I don't have cinnamon, but I do have some cayenne pepper, so it looks roughly the same. What we need to do first is prepare it by putting it in this bowl. We need 2 eggs. I don't know how much is 1 egg, so I'm just gonna guess it. That's like an egg. That's like an egg. That's like 2 eggs. Probably, right? It's about a half cup of milk. That's about right. Some of our cayenne pepper. That's about enough. It says beat it hard. Alright, now we gotta dip the bread. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I asked my mom if I was the reason she and my dad got divorced. She said no, it's because Dad was having sex with a Bolivian guy he met on TaskRabbit. You know, just dip that in here. So now, we need to preheat our air fryer to 400. And when that's done, we'll put our bread in. Okay, so now it's time to add our food. Throw these in here. There's not really enough room for both of them. Okay. And now, according to Henry, we want to leave these in here for about 30 minutes. He says it goes in the oven, but I'm sure an air fryer isn't that much different, so I'll see you then. While we're waiting for that to cook, let's talk. Henry's comedic voice and stylings executed the way they are in Henry's Kitchen make it genuinely one of the most consistently entertaining and hilarious internet series out there, despite being over a decade old with 70+ episodes. And it's fighting a somewhat uphill battle in order to stay fresh too, as the series is actually incredibly formulaic. The same beats are hit most episodes. A history about the dish, some uncomfortable editing, Henry getting cut off mid-sentence, Henry fucking up the dish in various ways, substituting ingredients he doesn't have, a depressing piano montage, and then Henry's done, usually with a failed dish. The secret to keeping this formula from getting boring is that Henry Phillips is very funny. As a performance, Henry captures complete and utter social and camera awkwardness and never breaks character. His timing and delivery make it feel like he's barely getting through each sentence.
We're going to be making Henry's holy guacamole with homemade corn tortilla chips. It's going to be a fiesta. Guacamole.
The writing also helps things stay fresh, as the sort of twist punchline style keeps you guessing how the hell he's going to fuck up or what he's going to say next. My favorite example of this is his non sequiturs. There's this recurring bit where he starts a sentence as if it is in some way going to be relevant to what he's doing, and it turns out to be something not only completely unrelated, but usually dark, odd, or just completely surprising.
I remember when you used to show up to school with new shoes, all the other kids would be like, new shoes, and then they'd stomp on them and just beat you to a bloody pulp. Put some green peppers on there.
That right there, that is my favorite one. I laugh out loud every single time. But also, as that clip showcased, Henry as a character isn't ever stale, because we're constantly learning more about his strange, sad, miserable life. He's sort of a kicked puppy, or maybe a butt monkey, which is apparently a trope name. I'm not just calling him names. It's not that he's without fault for many of his failures, but this guy doesn't seem to have had a good day in his life. The editing, meanwhile, continues characterizing Henry as a completely incapable host in all aspects of his video creation endeavors. The tacky stock transitions evoke baby's first iMovie, and the text cards he chooses to put in emphasize the strangest things. They also showcase another quirk of Henry, which is his proclivity for misspelling and mispronouncing things.
We're going to be making Henry's handmade nookie.
From the timing to the long shots or random cuts, Henry often trails off or is cut off mid-sentence, either because he realized it was too boring, it was left in by mistake, or he just forgot what he was going to say. The character of Henry clearly has high hopes for what he's making, but his skills are just not there in every aspect. A final piece of the puzzle when it comes to the core of Henry's kitchen is the music. These sad piano montages aren't just instrumentals, they're collections of depressing ballads by Jose Suicidio, a stage name Henry uses to put out these really odd, depressing albums.
Help me make it through the night, 'cause I am tired and alone. The children flying through the air from sea to shining sea.
This music is important both to the oddly depressing vibe of the show, but also to the character of Henry. Because one of the things that keeps the viewers invested in Henry as a character is that we feel bad for him. He's not without his flaws, which we'll get to, but there's something compelling about watching this lonely, depressed guy try his best to teach us how to cook, even when he doesn't know how. We want him to get better, and though that's likely never going to happen as it would be contrary to the point of the series, it keeps us watching, and he really pulls out all the stops in making this guy pitiable. One recurring element of Henry's kitchen is his themed holiday episodes, Valentine's Day, New Year's, and there's always a special sadness to these episodes, as we see Henry not only spend all of these holidays alone, but we also witness his facade drop a little bit more than usual, in these little character moments that highlight Henry's utter loneliness. My favorite is when Henry spends New Year's by himself, making vegan-free gluten pizza, and he notices he's missed the clock turning to midnight. There is no more chance of some surprise party or last-minute celebration. He's officially spent the night alone.
Okay, everybody, it's 12:03. Happy New Year, everybody.
Another fairly important part of this series that not only keeps it fresh but also continues to enforce our pity for Henry is all of the other characters he comes across. Early in the series, he attempts to make homemade sushi for a date, and he films his date for the video, much to her surprise and discomfort.
You have a camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm taping
Hi.
it for the internet.
You definitely don't want to hear that on a first date. Later on, he tries making barbecue fish in the company of what appear to be his friends, only for us to later realize he's sort of just slipped his way in there.
Who the fuck is this guy?
He does that a lot, actually.
I don't know you. I didn't invite you. I didn't hire you.
It's made clear through all of these interactions, Henry is not without fault for his current lonely state. He is socially awkward, overbearing, and most importantly, makes people very uncomfortable. But it's still sad seeing him try so hard to make friends, and often people's reactions are unnecessarily cruel.
Here, take this nasty shit with you.
Henry doesn't just stop at infiltrating parties or ruining dates. Eventually, he opens up his closet as an Airbnb, and intermittently within episodes, guests will appear. It's a great character choice for Henry. You can totally understand his thinking here. He wants someone to share his food and company with and not immediately leave. What better way than having someone literally live in your house? His Airbnb guests are, more often than not, made confused and uncomfortable by the whole situation. Henry keeps filming them, and they are seemingly never aware when they arrive that their arrangements were made in a closet, and the food Henry feeds them is often bad. And here is where we get to the things that make it a little easier to find Henry's predicament funny, and not just purely depressing. Henry isn't just socially awkward, he's also self-important and self-centered. One of the best examples of this is an interaction he has with his Airbnb guest Francisco. He makes the brief attempt to make small talk and have some kind of a friendly connection with this guy, but as soon as Francisco starts to bore him slightly, he just up and leaves.
So, what do you do?
I work in finance, as an investment firm. And analyze companies and see if they're worth buying them, and then so we try to see if
Okay, we're gonna go check on our saute.
Sure, it's sad that Henry's alone with no friends, but he can't be bothered to put in the effort into actually being courteous to other people. In his in-character mini-doc with Jash, Henry also consistently hypes himself up in ridiculous ways.
This thing, look at this. It's got a clock, it's got a timer. You can, see exactly how much water you're putting in. I mean, it's amazing. If I asked you how much this coffee maker costs, what would you say?
New, probably like $30.
Yeah, or even more, it could be hundreds. I bought it at a thrift store, and it was $12.
He wants to feel important and intelligent, but often doesn't put in the effort to actually improve. This aspect of Henry also comes out in his tutorials too, as he undertakes recipes he himself admits are incredibly difficult.
Making chocolate truffles is considered in the cooking community as one of the most pain-in-the-ass things that you can make.
But always seems to believe he's capable of. It's an interesting part of his performance. That veneer of confidence I mentioned is always there, even when he messes up terribly. It's like he thinks we don't notice. Still, despite his flaws, he's likable, and he does attempt to do nice things for people, and genuinely wants the people to like the food he makes. And I think the reason we root for him is because it feels like whether he makes mistakes or not, something bad always happens to him, which is why it was so gratifying to see where the story took him next. At his lowest point in the series, he seems to throw in the towel. He finds himself alone in a bar, depressed and ready to give up, but someone recognizes him.
Do you do cooking videos? I do, yeah, Henry from Henry's Kitchen.
Yeah, I thought that was you. You can't cook, man. There's a song in there, it's to Help Me Make It Through the Night.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely love that song. Do you know who wrote it?
Well, I actually don't tell a lot of people this, but I actually wrote it.
You wrote that song?
Sorry guys, I don't want you to think I'm eavesdropping or anything, but are you talking about Help Me by Jose Suicidio?
Yeah, dude, that's the guy.
That's you? You wrote that?
Yeah.
help me make it through the night.
Oh, that's nice.
'Cause I am tired and alone.
How are you? I'm Kevin Robinson, president of Island Records. I have an offer for you.
Oh, really?
How would you like to write some music for Justin Bieber?
Oh, yeah.
I love your
that
music,
sounds
and everyone
great.
seems to like it, even though I don't understand it. I think it'd be great.
Oh.
And so, though Henry's story ends with him dying 2 years later, he probably spent those years happier than he's ever been before. So that's good. That wasn't really the end, though. Time and space in this series aren't of particular interest, and as that episode showcased, though the videos sometimes work fully in fiction, it also pulls out to a more film-like third-person view at times. The show must go on. So Henry continued making recipes, and even got a masterclass series on Thrillist. This limited run of episodes are produced very professionally, and at first one might think that would ruin the magic of Henry's sloppy DIY style. But instead, the episodes feel more like a unique departure, as the juxtaposition of Henry's mistakes and demeanor and the incredible amount of money and production value behind him elevate them in a different way. Eventually, he would return to his regular style, though, and continue teaching the world from his home. The production would change a little as the years went on. He moved to a new kitchen, got a nice neon sign. Oh, and most importantly, he introduced the world to his cat, Roast Beef.
He's still trying to figure out where he is. Sit. He's confused.
Well, it seems like our food is about done. Let's give it a try, shall we? Looks great. Cheers. It's awesome. Henry's Kitchen continues even to this day. He cooked through quarantine and has now expanded his venture to Twitch, where he does live cooking lessons. So if you think this series is up your alley, go check it out. He also has a Patreon, 2 cookbooks, and a signature apron. Henry's Kitchen continues the trend we've seen of comedic tutorial series by incapable people, whether that's their hosting ability, their skills at what they teach, or both. It's a good format, and Henry's Kitchen does it incredibly well. But I think what has made Henry's Kitchen stand the test of time and continue to feel fresh and funny over a decade running and counting is its subtle performance behind Henry. Henry feels somewhat real, even in his comedic amounts of misery. As we've discussed, he's an empathetic character. There's something there to latch onto that continues developing. We're laughing at him, sure, but we're also rooting for him. That positivity, though often ironic, can be seen in the comments of his videos. I think Henry's Kitchen shows just how much potential there is in this genre for out-of-the-box storytelling. And there is another series that I'm sure you're all thinking of when it comes to a compelling story being told through fake, somewhat comedic tutorial videos. It's a series that would go on to inspire many more, both in this tutorial genre, but also the unfiction web series world in general. I'm talking, of course, about Alantutorial.
People online who are watching this, if you're watching me right now, I do feel like I have a certain power over you that makes me feel big and strong.
My name is Teddy. I was created to be an exact digital backup of Alan Resnick.
There was a little bug and a snake that lived in that cave, so I'm gonna try my hand at something a little more comfortable.
This is Alan Resnick, probably most famous for his surrealist horror comedy shorts he created with Adult Swim. This house has people in it and unedited footage of a bear. I also really enjoyed his short Enterings that you can find on his YouTube channel. And he has plenty more uniquely Alan projects under his belt. But before his time at Adult Swim put his brand of creativity on television, he worked on what might be an even more niche yet more influential project, Alantutorial. In June of 2011, the Alantutorial channel was created, and only a few days later, it uploaded its first video, How to Leak on a Piece of Paper. A confusing, nonsensical tutorial video that just, well, watch.
Thank you for coming to my YouTube page. So today, I'm going to show you how to leak on a piece of paper. You're going to need a pad of paper, white paper. You need a fork. Or you could use scissors. And I like to use scissors. Hold on. Where'd I put them? I couldn't find them. So we're gonna use the fork and the paper. You wanna have a small hole, because if it's too big, it won't leak. It'll fall. It'll pour. Thank you.
The preceding videos would continue this trend of bewildering how-tos, slowly building out the character of Alan. As the story progresses, things escalate rather quickly, but we'll start slow. Alan's tutorials are fascinating to watch. Many of them appear to be made up on the spot, with Alan trying to come up with the idea as he's filming, leading to some utterly strange concepts and execution.
Today on my page, I'm going to show you a new tutorial, brand new, on how to crush an old can of soda with wood. You just keep getting slats of wood. It's almost crushed, and once you get it almost crushed, you drop it. You got it, and then you cover it up with planks. And once it's all done, you stop the video and you tell everybody to like and favorite. Bye-bye.
The videos feel like someone who watches a lot of tutorials and wants to replicate them, but he has nothing to teach, so instead he grabs random objects from around his room and tries combining them in odd ways, all while mirroring the tutorial voice in his own way. Or he's clearly just copying whatever he's heard from other tutorials without fully understanding them.
All these lines get erased. They're just guidelines, and the bottom part here especially gets erased because that's going to be where the jaw goes. Okay, for second thing you gotta do is you gotta draw the eyes, and the eyes are they're two big circles.
It's never made explicitly clear, but some of the things Alan says,
"Hey YouTube, my name is Alan, I'm a little kid,"
and some of his behavior suggest that his character is either supposed to be an actual child who's simply being portrayed by the adult Alan Resnick, or is an adult who views and interacts with the world in a more childlike way. In either case, one thing that becomes clear pretty quickly is how unsafe his living conditions are. Alan has seeming unlimited and unsupervised access to dangerous power tools and materials which he does not know how to safely use.
You just try to hold it down with your feet. Ow! You hold it down with your feet. Whoa. Okay, you just... Okay,
What's more, it's soon revealed that Alan doesn't live alone. He lives with what are presumably his family, and once we find this out, the picture becomes a bit bleaker. Alan is clearly a victim of neglect, and little details start to pop out more obviously. His bed is just a few mats thrown together on the floor. He has access to these tools because the house is under renovation and no one seems to care enough to keep them out of his reach. No one cares enough to keep him safe. In one video, he has accidentally cut himself and continues trying to make a tutorial despite nearly passing out from the blood loss.
It's not a big deal. All you do is you find the power switch cord.
He also doesn't seem to be allowed to leave his room, as we see him quickly duck inside when his family arrives home. This isolation is showcased elsewhere too. Take a look at this clip.
So once you have your first fold... Yeah? Once you have your first fold, make a rule. Who? Yeah? Doing tutorial. I'll be done in a minute. Yeah? Who's there? It's okay. What? It's okay. You're gonna, once you have the line, you try to rip the paper, you hold it down. Stop! No, stop. Anyways, once you have it done, you just hold on, I'm doing tutorial, I'm almost done with tutorial, let me just finish. Stop it! Stop!
You'll notice the way the camera shakes when the door is being knocked on, and how you never see Alan's other hand when it's happening. It almost seems like Alan is knocking on the desk himself to give the illusion that people are there. To me, this suggests two things. One, that Alan is trying to convince the audience, and maybe even himself on some level, that he isn't so alone, that he has anyone to interrupt him in the first place, instead of leaving him completely alone. And second, that his interactions with his family aren't particularly pleasant. The knocking is aggressive and unnerving, like when his family does interact with him, it's with anger or to tell him to knock it off. None of this paints a very happy picture of Alan's current situation, and one could speculate that the reason he started this tutorial channel in the first place was to have someone to talk to, have some kind of positive outlet. One of the more distressing entries in this series comes with the video How to Pick Up a Blue Chair Off the Ground. This video shows Alan in tears, trying and failing multiple times to right a small blue chair from the ground.
If you have a blue chair that fell down, first thing you gotta do is you get down to the level of the chair and you touch it. And then it's simple. First thing you need is just to lift. If you can't get the chair to come up, you just leave it on the ground. Don't forget to like it.
The imagery and dialogue from Alan conjure some pretty heavy stuff. For one, the imagery of a kicked over chair immediately brings my mind to someone taking their own life, and Alan's interaction with this chair almost feels like somebody discovering the body of their loved one. There's also another level of symbolism here, I think, as Alan tries desperately to right the chair to undo what has been done, but he can't. It's permanent. If this truly is representative of someone in his life passing away, it may explain his current living situation. We don't know a lot about his family, but we know he has a brother from this clip.
So today's tutorial is how to hack or mod a hard drive to make it glow in the dark and trick your brother.
and his father is mentioned, but we can see a box labeled Dad at one point, and we hear nothing about his mother. It's possible the dad box is here because they're moving, or his stuff is packed up because his dad is no longer around. And if this chair is representative of his mother, that leaves Alan with just his brother, which may be why he's not being taken care of so attentively. Things in Alan's house come to a head with the video Locked Out of Room tutorial, What to Do. This video finds Alan in the middle of the night on the roof near his bedroom window.
Hey YouTube, thanks for coming back to my YouTube page. Today I'll do a new tutorial what to do if you get locked out of your room. So, somebody got locked out of my room. Somebody packed up all my stuff. So first thing you gotta do is check the window. Check at the bottom edge of the window and see if you can pry it up or push up on top.
Bars prevent him from getting back inside. His stuff has been packed up. He has been kicked out of his house with no way of getting back in. We knew his remaining family was neglectful, but this is pretty far. What happened? Well, if you pay close attention, you'll find this may not have been so left field. Many of Alan's tutorials involved him messing with his brother's computer equipment, many times very expensive and brand new equipment. In addition, a lot of his tutorials have been pretty destructive. The house seems to be under renovation throughout these videos, and Alan's contributions have not been productive. The video right before this showcased Alan destroying his entire ceiling. Obviously, Alan's behavior is only reflective of the neglectful conditions he's subjected to, but it appears his remaining family have reached their breaking point and locked him out. The next few videos from Alan are pretty bleak. Alan reappears with the video Lost Survival Skills tutorial, Find Water.
So, I got lost. I'm on, I don't know where I am, because I can't figure out how to get back to my room.
This video shows Alan on the side of a freeway somewhere, gathering water from a nearby canal with a makeshift bucket he's crafted from an empty jug of water and tied to a shoelace. Alan is completely homeless, and his conditions are worsening. His next few videos showcase this further, scavenging through trash, lighting furniture ablaze in the woods, and eventually building a sort of makeshift camp of things he's collected in the middle of the forest. His nails have grown long, he's covered in dirt and debris, his mannerisms appear more frenzied, but he's still uploading attempts at tutorials. How to do a Spanish hair braid, DIY weatherize hole tutorial. Something worth noting here is that even though all of Alan's things from the house are supposedly packed up and locked away, we can catch multiple glimpses of the blue chair still with him in the woods, sometimes up close, sometimes from afar, like it's following him. This may be a long shot, but my initial interpretation of this, keeping in mind the idea that this chair represents a family member of his that passed away, someone who he clearly cared about deeply, it almost feels like this is like their ghost, following him, trying to guide him in some way. Alan, despite his difficulties, has survived for a full year at this point if we follow the upload dates, on his own. It's just a thought. Things change in a drastic way with his next upload, Disc Tutorial. He's inside some sort of stained metal room, which watching quickly reveals to be the back of a moving truck.
Hey YouTube, okay, okay.
The walls are scrawled with strange and ominous writing like, "The beating shall continue until morale improves. Can't put off tomorrow what can be done today. You're not beaten until you admit it. Do the right thing. It will gratify some, astonish the rest." They read like evil corporate work posters. Alan struggles to stand in the moving vehicle, but somehow through it all continues trying to make a tutorial, settling on the only other object in there with him, a loose metal disc.
This is the tutorial. This is the YouTube tutorial.
It's not entirely clear what happened here to Alan, but it's easy to assume he's been kidnapped. Where he'll end up, we can only find out by continuing to watch. The very next upload is Simple Tape Tutorial, Easy, and it's strange. Alan is all cleaned up in a blank white room. He sits on a pillow, and as he turns around, we can see a pee bottle and then a table of various items. Alan attempts to make a tutorial with the items, but it's clear he isn't the one who put them there, and struggles to come up with a concept. In the end, his tutorial is pretty straightforward.
First thing you got, Fat Max is a measuring tape. First, all you gotta do is pull it out and push back in. So that's the tutorial. Thank guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you like the tutorial. Just comment on it and make a playlist, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Can't exactly blame him for taking it easy now. This does start to bring into question what his current situation is. What is the goal of these kidnappers? To help him make tutorials? Alan attempts to make one more brief tutorial before his next video, Senate Ends Budget Debate Rant video. The table has new items, slightly more unnerving than the last. Zip ties, a staple gun. Alan seems agitated, and just before he goes into what his tutorial is, he changes his mind.
So these are tutorial. These are things you need to do tutorial. And if you don't know what a tutorial is basically a stupid little thing that little kids like, and I don't like tutorials. Tutorials are stupid, and I hate them. So newsflash, I'm never going to do tutorial again, and now on YouTube I'll probably do a news YouTube channel.
Alan has now fully rejected making tutorials and seems quite upset, knocking paint over and trying briefly to open the locked door. As weird as it sounds, it almost does seem like his captors are trying to get him to continue making tutorials, and his switch to news videos is his way of fighting back. His videos continue to be news-oriented, and he reinforces that he won't be doing tutorials anymore. We also see that he has painted the table a similar shade of blue to that of his blue chair, and we even see some drawings of said chair on the walls. As the videos continue, though, the items that appear on his table become more dangerous and sinister, razor blades and screwdrivers. Things continue this way until the video titled $1 US. This video shows Alan trying to make news out of an umbrella in his room, but what he's really preoccupied by is that he's been given $1.
Financial report just got in. Turns out, guess who got $1? That's today's top story, is $1.
As the video continues, he seems to forget that he is trying not to make tutorials anymore, and once he realizes he's accidentally made an umbrella tutorial, he becomes upset.
So thanks, guys. If you like my new tutorial, it's you gotta use this news story is brought to you by this umbrella. So check it out. If you are going out this weekend, you should expect poor weather, and you should bring an umbrella. It was just showing you how. It was a how-to kind of thing. Okay, bye guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't like it, then don't subscribe. It is your choice. Look how big it is. Bye guys.
In his next video, he shows off that he's earned another $1 and is very excited about it.
Guess what? Read 'em and weep, you guys. $2. Uh-oh. Big guys in town's got $2. Those are my dollars. I earned $2 bucks, $2 fatty dollars that I get to keep. So those are my dollars. I'm pretty excited to keep these dollars. $2 bucks, $2. That's money. You spend that. This is good news. Good news. Top stories, good news. Tutorial. I don't care. This is my $1. This is $2 bucks. $2. I got $2 bucks. This is old dollar, you can tell. It's new dollar's good, old dollar's good. $2. Boom, $2. $2.
And just like the last one, he continues accidentally slipping into making a tutorial. In the end, he knocks on the desk and declares loudly,
"Tutorial's done!"
and reaches over to find another $1 has slid under his door. So now it's becoming a bit more clear. Despite his reluctance to continue making tutorials, each time he does slip back into making one, he's rewarded with money. The first $1 was given to him after he released a video that, again, was adamant about not being a tutorial, but he still did slip up here and there. His next video, How to Make a Terrarium Tutorial Simple, is a full-blown tutorial, and one that is clearly orchestrated by his captors, as he has all the items necessary to create said terrarium. There's not much of note here except that at the start of the tutorial, his hand begins bleeding, and he wipes it off on the wall nearby a drawing of the blue chair. At the end, he is yet again given $1 and ends on an ominous note.
If I don't get about 1,000 subscribers in the next 2 days, I'm probably gonna take my own life. Bye guys.
Alan continues making tutorials and being paid, and his room continues to get a little more disheveled. Eventually, he has enough money to make a $1 man.
There's my guy. Hello. My man. Well, what's your name? Me? Yeah, you. My name is Alantutorial. What's your name? My name is Alantutorial. You too? Yeah. Well, what do you like to do? Do you like the news? No. I do tutorials. Do you like YouTube? Yes. Oh, bye. Okay, bye. Wait. What? Do you want to subscribe? Well, you subscribe to my channel, I'll subscribe to your channel. Yes. Okay. So, goodbye. Bye. Where are you going? I'm going back. I'm going online to check it out. Check out my stats online. Okay. You're my little man. Bye. You're my guy. Okay. You're my best friend. What?
One odd moment in the video How to Watch YouTube Clips in HD 720p computer tutorial is as Alan watches a seemingly random video for this tutorial, it switches to a video of him. It's his terrarium video, but filmed from a different angle, like a camera on his head, and the audio is distorted. He seems confused, but ends the video without pontificating much further on it. My immediate thought seeing this is that this is what his captors are doing. Him continuing to upload to his own channel isn't the point. They're filming him from their own perspective and uploading this separately. He's unknowingly some kind of entertainment for these people. We're getting close to the end of the videos uploaded here, and things quickly begin to escalate. The video 4 Bad Cups has Alan drinking various liquids from paper cups. Some of them are digestible, like a cup of coffee, but others cause him to choke, like the cup of glue and the cup of blood. The next one showcases Alan hanging from the ceiling above his room, rambling nonsensically.
If you guys gotta do 8 of Morse and you torrent it, you put the torrent online, you get two cedars. And if you guys want to check out my cedars, go to tutorial. Gonna probably eat up tonight. Go get mace, what you call it, but I don't call it that. I just get left in the dust. Okay, guys, so you get chorning, you forget what you did. Don't forget me, I'm part of the team. So team players get double points on extra rounds. So see you on Tornadoes.
His next video, Arm Tutorial, shows Alan with his room in much further disarray, stains splattering every surface. Alan himself is covered in stains as well, looking much closer to when he was living in the woods. His demeanor and dialogue are incredibly frantic and erratic. In the rest of the videos after this, the lights are out, and the videos are only lit by Alan's phone flashlight. The door is still locked, the room nauseatingly soiled. If his captors were taking care of Alan before this, they've stopped. Combined with the lights being shut off, it's almost like they've just left him here, and who knows for how long. As is pointed out by Roddy2707 on the Alantutorial subreddit, the break between the last video before things go dark is literal months. The videos here are only a few seconds long, and titled either nonsense or just a nondescript file name. It's hard to make out much of anything aside from filth, but we can catch some glimpses of some pretty disturbing stuff, like these rotating, almost human-looking pieces of meat. The final video, Tutorial, clocks in at just under 2 minutes long. It appears at first to be similar to the previous entries, but things take a slightly hopeful turn when Alan breaks a hole in the wall and begins to climb out through the crawl space behind it. And that's where it ends. That is the final upload of Alantutorial. So, what just happened? So just as a brief recap, Alan begins uploading videos from his room, attempting to replicate tutorials. His living situation appears to be neglectful, and his parents may no longer be in the picture. His abusive family eventually becomes tired of dealing with him, so they kick him out, and he lives on the streets and in the woods for around a year before being kidnapped by a mysterious group who seem to want him to continue making tutorials. Locked inside a small room and seemingly being recorded externally by his captors, he tries to fight back by changing his channel to a news channel, but his captors bribe him with money, setting him back on the path to make tutorials. The videos his kidnappers coerce him into making become more upsetting and harmful to Alan as they let him and his room slowly deteriorate, until they eventually seem to shut the lights off and leave him with nothing but darkness and some kind of spitting corpse or meat. And though Alan's fate from here is not entirely clear, I like to believe there's some hope for Alan as he finally breaks out of his prison and presumably escapes. So sure, that's a surface reading, but I think it's clear there's a lot more going on with these videos. And though this video isn't exclusively about Alantutorial, and I do have some other things to get to, I'll try my hand here at breaking down a few of the thematic angles this series seems to be presenting.
Hey, tutorial head. Today we're going to do a new tutorial about how to analyze Alantutorial. So the first thing you gotta do is you gotta hit record. Gotta take your lens cap off. And then you gotta hit record.
Firstly, I'd like to touch on what is probably the most accepted reading of the story. Like many of you, I'm sure, I first heard about this through Nightmind's video back in 2015. So obviously credit to that video and the decade plus of discussion amongst the community. This portion is not entirely my own original thoughts. To really understand this perspective, we have to circle back. Alantutorial is a series created by Alan Resnick, an independent artist. What became pretty clear to people through watching this series, especially in the latter half, was the commentary and parallels of Alan's journey throughout these videos to that of the struggles of independent artists, balancing artistic vision and integrity with the need to make a living off your art and work with corporate or business ventures in order to do so. Alan starts very simply, making videos for fun out of his bedroom. He's clearly taking inspirations from others' work and is not the greatest at it, but he's enjoying making the things that he wants to make. Unfortunately for Alan, it's not sustainable. It leaves him destitute, but at his lowest point, he almost seems to be saved. Some powerful, faceless group pick him up from off the street and give him opportunities he didn't have before. Not just much needed shelter and food, but also the resources to make his videos. But this is stifling for Alan. Now he's being forced to do it, and he doesn't seem to have any other option but to continue making what people know him for, doing the same thing over and over again. So he fights back. He tries making something different. He tries striking out on his own again, but that is not what pays the bills. His captors, clearly painted as a sort of deranged corporate entity, offer him something hard to refuse. Money. And so he continues, albeit reluctantly. And the money does make him happy for a little while, but it doesn't stay that way. This environment sends him on a spiral, his life deteriorating. He has everything you think he could want: shelter, resources to continue making his projects, money. But that isn't what makes him happy. And in the end, the people providing him with these luxuries leave him behind. But in a way, this is its own kind of freedom. Alan is seemingly right back where he started before they found him. And yet even in this low, there's a ray of hope. Alan has escaped what truly made him miserable, and though it's not entirely clear where he's ended up now, that is a choice that he will be able to make. I just hope that wherever Alan is, he's doing all right now. So, along with the general story arc aligning with this reading of the story, there's a lot of little details that you can gather from individual videos that help build this case and add some depth to it. For instance, the use of color in the series. The baby blue we see throughout seems to be attached to Alan's old life, and something that at least at one point comforted him. It's something that is taken away from him when he's moved to the corporate headquarters. It's representative of something core and true to Alan, and it's why he repaints the red table to blue, specifically when he strikes out on his own by making the news. On the other hand, the red of the table seems to represent the opposite, the corporate influence, which is why Alan begins to bleed when he finally gives in to making tutorials again, the red overtaking the blue. Again, I am not the first person to point these out. Nightmind goes into a lot more detail about this particular angle in his video, but I think any discussion of this series would be incomplete without pointing these things out. With this view of the series, you can begin to read moments from the videos in different ways. For instance, when Alan is unable to pick up the blue chair. Instead of, or I suppose along with, reading this as the passing of a loved one, we also know that blue represents an element of Alan's creativity. You could read this video like artist block. He's unable to complete the tutorial he set out to make. He's unable to finish a project because he feels he can't write himself. He can't access that which gives him his creative drive, which is a common problem among artists. Writer's block, creative burnout, whatever you want to call it. This could also begin to explain why the chair follows him out into the woods. Even in this dire situation, he continues making tutorials, and so that creative drive follows him there too, even when he is at his most desperate. It only disappears once he's been taken in by the kidnappers. In addition to this more general parallel with an independent artist's experiences, there's also definitely a more specific bit of satire going on as it relates to YouTube. The series ran through 2011 to 2014. Being a YouTuber was an emerging thing. When it started, we were barely breaking out of the age of viral videos. So much of Alan's dialogue feels pointed at the growing obsession with online relevancy and what we'd now call being an influencer or whatever. The constant plugging to like and subscribe, the focus on your online stats, and many of the general pieces of the artist's experience we see here could be mirrored especially in the emerging world of making money on YouTube. Being forced into doing what you're known for, especially in the era of the viral video star trying to make it into a career, for scraps of ad revenue. I don't think the series is exclusively about YouTube, but there's definitely a lot of comparisons to be drawn here.
If I don't get about 1,000 subscribers in the next 2 days, I'm probably gonna take my own life. Bye, guys. Do you want to subscribe? Well, you subscribe to my channel, I'll subscribe to your channel. Yes. Where are you going? I'm going back. I'm going online. Check it out. Check out my stats online.
Okay, so I do eventually have to talk about some other series, but I still have one more angle I wanted to discuss when it comes to this series. Something that immediately leapt out to me upon a rewatch for this video. Something that feels very relevant to the themes I'll be talking about with future series, and something I haven't seen very many people point out in a deeper analysis of Alantutorial. Again, for this analysis, we'll have to take a step back, and we'll have to do a little bit of reflection on the series itself. What is it about these videos that is compelling to us as an audience, especially in the first half of the series? They're not particularly useful tutorials. In the traditional sense, they're not very good videos at all. Alan's choice of topics are often nonsensical, he's not a great speaker or narrator, the sound and visual quality is low, many times he doesn't even finish the tutorial. So why do we keep watching? It's not in spite of any of these things, it is exactly because of them. It's because of Alan, and the way Alan is bad at these things. I mean, how can you not like Alan? I've included a lot of just straight dialogue in this video so far because I find his character and mannerisms so endearing. And this is intentional. The character of Alan, as written and portrayed by Alan Resnick, seems to be intentionally humorous. Outside of all the deeper analysis, the first half of the series does function pretty well as a comedic satire on poor quality YouTube tutorial videos. The idea of a person who has no real concept of how to make a decent video and doing so in a ridiculous way is entertaining. But the thing is, this idea is not an entirely fictional one. It is not an uncommon occurrence for some online personality to gain a sort of cult following because of the unique way that they are bad at what they do. Anyone can upload anything to the internet, and anyone can then find those things. So you find people who try their hand at running a blog or uploading YouTube videos and aren't very good at it. And just the same way, you'll sometimes find that their unique brand of strangeness gathers a following, people who are entertained by their oddness or incompetence. At times, these followers can be kind and encouraging, helping them improve, or they just find their work charming. But just as, if not more often, this following will be an ironic one, people who gain entertainment from making this person a subject of mockery. I would say it's a reasonable angle to view Alan as a sort of fictionalized version of such cases, and if we try to understand the story of Alantutorial in this way, I think it might change the way you understand some of the things we've gone over so far. Firstly, I think it's important to specify how Alan fits into this. Alan is not just an inexperienced video creator. Alan is clearly a vulnerable party, who isn't able to properly take care of himself and his safety on his own. We see this with the trouble he gets himself into making these videos, often hurting himself or getting very close to it. And unfortunately, he lacks the support structure to assist him. There are many possible explanations for Alan's behavior. Maybe his character actually is supposed to be a little kid. There are other explanations that the Alantutorial audience has caught on to. The series makes multiple hints to Alan being on the spectrum. Quick note, so I went to find the video I'd remember seeing where this footage is from, where it shows Alan on YouTube during Autism Awareness Month. I found the link through this TV Tropes article, but clicking on it led me to this message. So I was able to find it through this 2022 All Alantutorial Videos video, but yeah, it's gone from his channel, seemingly pretty recently. I would assume this is because he does some YouTube video downloading stuff in it, but yeah, anyway, that he is suffering from schizophrenia or has one or multiple learning disabilities, or some combination of or all of these things. In any of these cases, the point remains the same. Alan is in a vulnerable position as a person with unsupervised access to the internet. Again, a situation like this is not entirely fictional. You'll find that a lot of the people who find themselves as subjects of mockery are not neurotypical in ways that make them more vulnerable, and oftentimes lack a functioning support structure. And this is where things get more sinister. Many times their issues or difficulties are part of the entertainment for these ironic followers. Their suffering or obstacles are a part of the spectacle, and that can make them even more of a target, as they lack the guidance to steer them away from the online environments where they're mocked. I'm avoiding using any specific examples of people in this predicament because I don't want to even accidentally send more people their way, and singling someone out is missing the point. But if you've been on the internet for a decent amount of time, you probably have some people in mind while I'm talking about this. So, Alan may fit this bill, at least as someone who this could conceivably happen to. And as Alan creates videos in his house, the parallel seems pretty clear. But what about Alan going homeless and then being kidnapped by a mysterious group who force him into continuing making tutorials? How does that fit into all of this? Well, I'll be honest, I do think this section of the series probably fits more into the initial reading of the series we did. But I do think there's something there when it comes to this analysis. See, there are levels to the way that these ironic followers will interact with these kinds of people. At times, it's just detached amusement, leaving these people to their devices and enjoying whatever they make, even if it is from a place of mockery. Other times, there is a more active attempt at bullying and leaving mean comments. But other times, there is an even more involved approach to this entertainment. People will say things about these people specifically to elicit a reaction from them. Their anger or distress at mean comments is a part of the entertainment, and being the cause of that even more so. Sometimes this takes the form of catfishing, pretending to be someone who genuinely likes their stuff in order to manipulate them from the inside. This direct approach can go as far as doxing, real-life harassment, blackmail, and manipulation. Very nasty stuff. And this can even be a more organized effort, planning and executing this manipulation or harassment. Again, all of this with the specific goal of gathering entertainment out of this person's reaction. It's not quite the same as trying to deplatform somebody or bully them off the internet. They want them to stay. It's about extracting entertainment. Or in layman's terms, trolling. So how does this relate back to Alantutorial? Well, I think you can see the people who kidnapped Alan as a stand-in for this audience. At the start, Alan was just uploading videos and people watched on in passive amusement. But as Alan's life became more vulnerable and he lost his only support structure, albeit a bad one, I think you could see his kidnapping as him falling fully into the hands of his followers, completely engulfed into the manipulation of his audience, trapping him in a facade of his real life, coaxing him into continuing to suffer for their entertainment, and then escalating. Whether it's the razor blades or leaving him in his own filth or the rotating meat sticks. They set him up to fail because that is the spectacle. I find the most compelling piece of evidence for this reading in the How to Watch YouTube Clips in HD 720p video. We see Alan come across a video of himself filmed from a sort of third-person view, a camera that's placed on his head that's filming him making the video. To me, it feels symbolic of what people are getting out of Alan's videos. They're not in it for the value of the tutorials themselves, they're looking past that. They're there for the idea of somebody in his position with his difficulties trying and failing to make tutorial videos. In that way, the entertainment isn't the tutorial itself, it's the idea of it being made and the person making it. In another way, it feels to me like it's representing this manipulation for entertainment. They have him trapped in this box making tutorials, but they're not there to watch the tutorials. They're doing this so they can watch him make the tutorial. That is where their entertainment lies. Alan being trapped in and eventually succumbing to his captors who use him simply for entertainment is exactly reflective of some of the worst case scenarios for these online personalities. Especially if they have no support structure to look to for help or for healthier social interaction. Unfortunately, many of these people fall into the trap. They can't stop responding to the comments. They are consumed by these masses. Their lives become metaphorically very similar to Alan's, surveilled and followed by an audience who seek to encourage their worst habits and prevent them from ever getting better in an attempt to create their own entertainment. And again, many times it's the most vulnerable people who fall into this, people like Alan, who don't have the social instincts to protect themselves and don't have the support to help them learn. This is all pretty dour, but I think Alan's story can be interpreted as a sort of happy ending. In the end, it appears his audience became too bored of him to continue their torment. They left him alone, and though things seem pretty gruesome in those last few videos, he uses this opportunity to escape. And he ends up doing the one thing that would break this cycle. He stops uploading. He stops feeding the audience. Or so goes my interpretation. As a little postscript that I'm writing here near the end, I wanted to mention that this is a fairly nuanced and sensitive topic when it comes to harassment and bullying online, specifically as it relates to autistic people, people with learning disabilities, or someone, for instance, with schizophrenia. I think you could easily point out that people with unconventional interests or just neurodivergent people are, in general, more often targets of online harassment. Not because they're doing anything wrong or anything like that, just because they're on the spectrum or neurodivergent in some other way. That's an important topic to discuss, but the analysis I'm getting at here with Alantutorial is more so related to the specific type of harassment that typically finds roots with people who have a more difficult time self-abdicating, which isn't the case for all neurodivergent people. Alan's case, which for the record is left fairly vague, specifically his extreme naivety and unsupervised access and difficulties using the internet, parallel how that naivety can be taken advantage of in some of the most severe real-life cases of online harassment. Even with some of this clarification, I'm sure that I'm not 100% spot on. For one, this is one subjective reading of Alan's character and story. And I'm not an expert in this at all, and so I'm being as sensitive as I can here, but my main point is that I think this series can be viewed with the lens of this internet phenomenon in mind, and I hope I've done a decent enough job portraying that without getting things totally wrong or disrespectful. One thing of tremendous value I got out of this series was a deep sense of empathy for Alan. And I think the audience in the comments of that final video hoping for a happy ending for Alan shows that a lot of people watching did too. Sure, Alan's videos were funny. He wasn't great at making a tutorial, but you root for him the whole way. You're scared with him, you're sad with him, you're hoping for the best for him. I think it shows that though there is cruelty on the internet from the likes of those we discussed in that second analysis, there are many more who value happiness and health and empathy for people. And if you're seeing a running theme here with this and Henry's Kitchen, good, we'll get to that. But Alantutorial did a lot more than just create a compelling story. It reached millions and inspired many to pursue the, at the time, burgeoning world of alternative storytelling via the internet. Web series, ARGs, unfiction. It sits among Nightmind's most popular video topics, just below what might be the king of modern horror unfiction, Marble Hornets. Alantutorial's influence may not be calculable, but you can see it everywhere in the modern day of the genre it inhabits. And what I'd like to talk about next might be one of its greatest successors, the Stockroach.
Patreon.com/HangingHawks, commentary tracks and more. Oh my god, early access, exclusive reviews, names in the credits and 2 tiers to choose. Polls on stuff to help me decide, like whatever you choose. You might break a tie, yeah, support this shit if it's what you like yeah.
Let's take a trip back to the start of 2020 in the US. Tech startups propped up on vaporware promised the impossible. Cryptocurrency was in a limbo following Bitcoin's crash in 2018, but concerns of war in early January began to fuel some to reconsider it. Online gurus and hustlers promised a clear path to becoming a millionaire, secret tricks of the stock market. It was nothing new, but as a pandemic began its devastating sweep across the world, their promises of passive income and stability became more tantalizing. Enter a channel called Stockroach in early 2020, a true visionary of the crypto roller coaster that threatened to infest social media and the worldwide psyche in the next few years. But behind his viral videos was a darker secret, a convoluted series of lies and half-truths that would eventually cause T.S. Roach to say his final stock-a-doodle-doo. To properly understand T.S. Roach, I think it's best to let him introduce himself.
Yo, what's up, money grubs? This is the Stockroach, coming at you on January 2nd, 2020 to say stock-a-doodle-doo to the new year. I'm here to give you some money advice, talk about how to infest your investments. So I was just thinking, you know, it's a new year, it's a time of new beginnings. We got New Year's Eve, and then they put New Year's Day right next to it, which is cool. We got the Lunar New Year, we got the Martin Luther King New Year, we got all kinds of new stuff has happened. You know, I've made so much money in my career, and I thought it's time for me now to give something back. So, you know, I'm basically created this channel to like teach you how you can be successful like me, you know, get a little coin on your back, maybe if you're lucky, do some thought bubbles, you know, just make some money in general. So let's see what's on the agenda for episode Let's see what's on the episode today.
T.S. Roach is a master orator, from his well-designed PowerPoints to his intriguing writing style, but pause at the right time and you may see something unintended. This is a series I feel is best enjoyed firsthand, so I want to encourage you to check it out for yourself. It's genuinely one of the funniest series I've seen so far, and if you're wanting more afterwards, you can come back here to see the hidden details you might have missed and my analysis of the series. Episode 1 of Stockroach was uploaded January 4th, 2020. Within it, Stockroach offers an overview of cash money, its pros and cons, and its fatal security flaws.
I didn't know about this until somebody told me about it, so a lot of people don't know about this. But if a criminal looks at the number on the dollar bill, they can memorize it. And if you memorize the number, you can actually go to the bank and you can get a new dollar bill printed of that number as a replacement, which makes the original dollar bill invalid.
He never explicitly mentions cryptocurrency, but his personal conclusions are made quite clear. But what if I told you this Stockroach wasn't all that he seemed? That there are details hidden within these videos that only the keenest discerning eye will be able to detect. Hidden within Stockroach's otherwise airtight presentation are search results revealing a crippling fear of dolls, satanic symbolism, even a diary entry mentioning a girl named Ashley and insinuating that Stockroach is hurting for money, wedging his future on Bitcoin. This is how the true story of Stockroach is told. This is how we will uncover the truth behind Stockroach's identity throughout these videos, picking up the breadcrumbs left in the cracks of his screen recordings, and trust me, this is only the start.
I'm gonna be doing this every week for a couple years
of Stockroach's legacy. His next few videos mostly continue the financial advice, though sometimes departing into feedback or art projects, such as teaching us how to buy penny stocks. Very on brand considering his inclination to speculative volatile assets like crypto. He introduces a theme song.
Oh, sorry, that was a bad thing, sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite part. It's like you can't. It's like one of those songs like you can't hear it without singing along, right?
And discusses his channel growth.
Episode 1 has reached over 100 views in only 2 days, and that's great. Whereas episode 2 is kind of hovering around the 20s. That's not as good. And a lot of people would be disappointed in my situation, but honestly, I'm not. I consider this a success. I consider myself happy about what's happening because I think that failure is actually a kind of success because it's a step toward another success.
His optimism is contagious, and it might explain his heightened risk tolerance in the face of such risky financial endeavors. Stockroach continues painting a picture of himself, telling us that he's
in the 30-plus range of ages.
And at first glance, there's not much more here, but we know there's more than meets the eye. Glimpses of his diary and Microsoft Word reveal more of his own personal writing, some more innocent, like a fantasy novel titled Magisteria, and some of his other artistic interests, but others are more sinister, like this ominous drawing of a figure in a window, watching what we can only assume is this Ashley person. Mentions of Ashley continue, including poems written for her. He's clearly obsessed. We also see multiple mentions of Stockroach reminiscing about his father, for instance with a document called Free Writing About Dad. And one diary entry mentions he'd been throwing away pills that he felt improved his academic performance at the expense of his creativity. But where we can learn the most about Stockroach is when he shows us how to sign up for an electronic trading platform. He enters everything: social security number, marital status, but most interestingly, the Roach makes a mistake while entering his birthday, putting the date of a 16-year-old.
That was a crazy typo. I don't know how that happened. It's supposed to be 1984. I was thinking because sometimes I use a lot of different numbers in my line of work. So
this isn't a simple mistake. No, someone with such skill with numbers wouldn't easily confuse these dates. Our hope for answers would be put on hold, however, as the Stockroach would soon disappear from the internet for a long while. So let's talk about what we know so far. I can tell you that the moment I saw Stockroach, I was utterly absorbed. His strange tone of voice, his endless aptitude for high-risk investments, his anime opening. I had to learn more about this enigmatic figure, and what immediately begins to stand out are his contradictions, his dualities. Like the titular coin that resides on his back, Stockroach has two sides, two different ages, his status as a widow and growing obsession with Ashley, his confidence in the face of volatility, and yet his overwhelming fear of dolls. The only way to understand this man and resolve some of his contradictions is to continue watching. After 8 devastating months of silence, Stockroach returns. And as COVID-19 has swept through the world, it seems it has also swept through T.S. Roach. He explains he ended up in the hospital, allegedly due to COVID, but even that doesn't deter him.
A lot of people look at it as an illness, whereas the Stockroach and all the money grubs look at it as an opportunity. So what is the coronavirus an opportunity to do? And one of those things is that when you're lying in a hospital bed, you get to think some really big thoughts.
During this uncertain time, Stockroach gives sage advice about the future of the economy.
The number of dollar signs when we get the coronavirus will drop down to 0. This is something all economists agree on. But what all other economists agree on, furthermore, is that if the economy is given a new form of medicine, the strength and number of dollars in the economy will rise until I am released from the hospital. It's not that I'm in the hospital anymore. That's what some people say, and it's not true. I can tell you that right now.
The video is brought to an abrupt end by an alarm reminding him to take medicine. But that's not all we learn this episode. There's references to him attending school, a desire to be the same as the other kids instead of always being different, and needing to complete homework. This seems out of place considering what we know about the 30-plus range of ages Stockroach, more of his mysterious contradictions. That's not the only oddities in these entries. References to scabs and bandages he needs to change that don't quite line up with COVID-19 symptoms. And his father is brought up once again. While searching up his various big thoughts list, there's a few morbid entries in list 5. Even the longest relationship you ever have is still just temporary because of death, followed by father-son relationships through history. Later on, a disconcerting collection of folders details drawings of a hospital devil, a hospital angel, and some man who seems to do something at night, but the strangest moment of the episode occurs in a blink and you'll miss it gesture.
So I'm just going to pull up a little slide. Sorry about that. I am going to pull up a special thing.
He goes to look for the folder slideshow, pulls up the trash, and then falls silent, uneasy by something he sees there that prompts him to immediately delete the files. Notably, in the trash is a folder called Memories of Dad. This type of silence is different from the other times we've seen T.S. Roach fumble to cover something he hadn't meant to show. This time, to me at least, it feels more somber. On to the next video. This next video shows the Stockroach replying to an email, allowing us to peek into his account and interestingly showing us that Stockroach is also signed into another Gmail account belonging to Jeremy Gilbert. And inside his search history, we find some odd musings, past lives while living in the hospital, prettiest anime girls, and puberty side effects male, and philosophy regarding death. So it seems like Stockroach has faced some kind of loss recently, presumably his father. It's at this point I want to present a revolutionary theory. This may be hard to believe, so please bear with me. What if Stockroach is a high school-aged Jeremy Gilbert? And Stockroach is lying about his age on the internet. I know, it's quite an accusation, but I am prepared to defend it in court if T.S. Roach intends to sue. So with that in mind, let's continue. The next couple of videos show Stockroach continuing his interactions with fans, but he seems a bit perturbed by some of their messages, specifically ones asking about his medicine, the hospital angel and devil, and strange tweets on his account. Stockroach crops these portions out of the questions. Even more so, he seems confused by a sudden influx of commenters accusing him of being an ARG, an acronym he appears to never have heard of. These accusations lead him into a sort of existential spiral. What if he is an ARG, a fictional person only made for this online game? The implications of his reality seem to deeply concern him. Will he die? Can an ARG have a girlfriend? But that isn't all that seems to be on his mind. We can see a new diary entry with dizzyingly slurred writing. Stockroach's spelling abilities have always been a little spotty, but this is another level. I've taken the liberty in translating the gist of it. Dear Diary, the angel who used to come for me in the hospital bed. I saw her. She's humming a song. If I see the angel again, then maybe that means the big bad devil man comes again too. Hear the singing angel saying, I remember. She sang the song to me. She said too, Jeremy, take her name. Never again be a Gilbert. Run away from the arms of Gilbert, and you will find her. Sing song, that when you say, you get health all again. The bad demon, no, go away. And another dream was that I had, the devil man in the cone, he was the virus. Give me the virus. But the medicine heal me, take away the devil, and I only hear the music from some other place. If I could get rich, then she will love me, and take her name to me. No, nevermore, not have to be a Gilbert. And the devil, he will soon give a dream to me, that when I was little Jeremy, with the money gone, when daddy leave behind no money, and he says the virus comes to bring back poor Jeremy Gilbert. We get the sense that Jeremy is dealing with hallucinations while recovering in the hospital. The taking her name may refer to Ashley and his obsession with her, that the way to escape his circumstance is through convincing her to marry him with money, and hence his focus on investments throughout the series. Jeremy also seems conflicted with his role in his family. His father is implied to have left him, leaving his family in poverty. It's also possible his resentment to taking medicine he doesn't want, as seen pre-hospital arc in episode 2, may be why he wants to leave his family name behind. But things get even stranger when he uploads a video titled Untitled 2. Seemingly recorded in the middle of the night, it starts to paint a picture of what those previous strange tweets and writings have been. Presumably doing this in a half-asleep-like trance, Jeremy sings and transcribes an odd tune, and writes a similarly garbled diary entry. I am seeing the wings, and hearing with her way she's singing a song, and even responds to a comment in this state. When you and if you sleep that way, if you're awake, you can hear the song and see her. His next couple of videos expand further on the sleeping state Jeremy sometimes posts from. Back in his awakened format, he discusses his COVID-19 symptoms.
Sometimes when you have the version of coronavirus that I have, you get up at night to do various tasks, like checking email is one of them, or moving things from the fridge to the hallway, or deleting files. And when you do, some people would call this, they'd call this sleepwalking. I call it an opportunity. Because every time you delete a file in your sleep, it's what it is, it's an opportunity to be creative all over again. I actually don't know what this is. I'm going to get rid of it. If you get coronavirus, you may find that your senses are heightened. Personally, I found that my sense of hearing was what was the most heightened. And you will start to hear things like, for example, voices of some sort of creature or being that echo through the hallways, and they sing maybe one of the most beautiful melodies that you've ever heard in your life. And it's one of those melodies that you feel like you've always known, but if you ever try to remember it and sing it, you can't do it. I don't know if angels, for example, are real, but I do know what I heard.
So clearly this is not COVID. As the videos go on, they seem to suggest almost an alter ego of sorts, who we'll call the Night Roach, leaving messages for him and filling his computer with half-transposed versions of what is presumably the angel's song, to the point that his computer is suffering severe performance issues. And these untitled Night Roach uploads also continue here and there, continuing his goal of transposing the song and getting Jeremy's dayward attention. These uploads also continue filling us in on Jeremy's life. Uploaded just after Joe Biden's 2020 election,
I want to say congratulations to America's brand new president, Bill Clinton, who, not Bill Clinton, to Bill Joden, to President Bill Joden, I want to say congratulations.
The Stockroach continues his financial advice and shares some truly inspiring quotes. Interrupting the montage, we hear a brief phone conversation between Ashley and Jeremy.
Yeah, I've always got, always have time to talk to you, you know? Oh. Yeah, so that's it's actually not due until Tuesday, so.
And see Jeremy add to a detailed list of information he knows about Ashley, including her favorite band, Snakeskin, and height, normal. And we continue to see his fascination with hot anime girls and hot anime boys. And his home life is again fleshed out, continuing to reminisce on his father and attempts to hide and avoid taking his pills from his mother. A note on the pills, actually. Referring back to the diary entry in episode 2, where Jeremy mentioned he'd been throwing away academic enhancing pills that made him feel zombified, I think it's likely Jeremy may have been prescribed medicine for ADHD, and doesn't feel comfortable taking it due to his reaction to it. However, he also seems to be taking new medicine related to his illness in the hospital, and his distrust of it seems to be influenced by that past experience. Moving forward, Stockroach / Jeremy's next videos seem to focus back on these accusations of being an ARG. Having had ample time to research the topic, Stockroach gives us the rundown.
So what is ARG? ARG is a form of YouTube channel where there is both a game to play and a sort of, there's a thing where there's like a mysterious aspect to a, we're gonna look at the definition real quick. Okay, so ARG is a village, a faraway village in somewhere called Rena, where the first ARG was created and played. But I don't see that here on the page. One of the most famous examples of an ARG was the Garfield cartoon, which was done so realistically and with so much detail that for a long time a lot of people believed that Garfield was a real cat. And here you can see that ARG was referenced in the canonical drawings of the comic book. Now another ARG that was very popular is something called Pet Shop. A lot of people play Pet Shop. It's a game, it's an ARG about getting pets. And I recently watched the whole thing, and I can tell you that it is very, very boring. Actually, no, so the problem I have with Pet Shop, it's a pet-themed game. It has pets right here in the name, but they don't even bother to reference in any way or form or shape the most famous pet in the world, who is Garfield.
But the main point of this video seems to be to introduce a new ARG, one he has created.
Maybe I made it, or maybe I didn't make it. Maybe it's real videos, because I watched them and they looked pretty real to me. But they are called
adapting his previously mentioned novel, Magisteria, and is now uploading to a new channel. Moving over there, we find that the animated hero Stockario has been transported to a virtual world, and the players need to help him get home. And this digital adventure is expanded in future videos as he takes audience suggestions in exploring the world and solving puzzles. But since this is still Stockroach, moments of reality bleed into the videos. And we see his future plans for new videos, his mom forgetting about Thanksgiving, and top 10 things I love about my body. Having sorted out his feelings towards ARGs, Stockroach gets straight to the root of what it means to be a YouTuber, appealing to brands for monetization. Only problem, Stockroach doesn't actually have any sponsors vying for his attention, so he decides
you should be advertising for the sponsorship that you want, not just the sponsorship that you have. So that brings me to my next topic, which is something I like to call a prospective advertisement, also known as a hypothetical sponsorship.
And so Something else worth noting. While it's nothing new for Stockroach to be looking for additional ways to grow his investments, this particular move to sponsored content seems accelerated by some hidden details. One entry notes that his family has run out of money, and not all seems well for poor Jeremy given his choice in music. The next few videos, a mix of Night Roach posts, ARG videos from the Stockroach channel, and daytime Stockroach hijinks, only deepen this sense that something is off. A diary entry reveals Jeremy's mother misled him on the reason he was hospitalized, but it definitely wasn't COVID. Stockroach seems to question whether he has a repressed memory, jotting down notes of what he does recall. And there's some other Night Roach messages that I've managed to decode. They seem to be snippets of dialogue from a video Jeremy is implied to have filmed for his father. But Stockroach's problems are about to get a whole lot worse. Stockroach releases a few more videos hinting at an important announcement, but we find this important announcement has been copyright claimed. And so Stockroach begins to prepare his legal defense, and this controversy marks the start of the Free Stockroach campaign, a campaign that will forever change the landscape of YouTube, and especially the Stockroach channel. And ultimately, this campaign culminated in a full 43 signatures, gaining the autographs of notable persons like Jeremy G himself. And while he fights for his freedom, he occupies himself in other ways. A live stream, and very excitingly, a real interview with the real Snake from the band Snakeskin. And of course, within these videos comes additional hidden info. We find some sillier details like Stockroach's favorite singer.
My favorite singer is probably a singer named Chopin. She mostly only sang songs on the piano, and she was very skinny, and she was very sick for most of her life. But they say that she played the piano so beautifully that she was able to heal her body with the music.
But other details are more morbid, so let's look more deeply into them.
That is, I actually see that I have some files right now that I can delete, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete them forever. And the thing I love about deleting them forever is that then you never have to think about them anymore. You don't have to remember them. You don't have to think about them. Vice versa.
Stockroach's dialogue becomes a lot more telling here when you translate that folder's Japanese title, Nocturne for Dad. In a Night Roach video, beyond another glimpse at Jeremy's questioning of his own repressed memories, Night Roach also exposes a Word document called Letter to Mom. It's a bit tricky to make out, but here's my transcription. Dear Mom, when you read this letter, you will probably have a lot of questions. I want you to know the decision I made does not mean that I did not feel loved, but only that I felt there was no other options for me. I don't feel like I have control of my brain anymore, and I think the house makes it worse, and I want to be somewhere else all the time, only I don't know where somewhere else is. So I'm just going to find it now. Don't worry, I'm sorry for how you probably feel right now. I took my medicine this morning and will be okay, but my phone is off, probably forever. Sincerely, Jeremy. And based on the file's modification date, it seems like it was created February 5th of 2020 after episode 4, before he returns from his hospitalization. A few final details. Stockroach notes that animations have been appearing on his computer by themselves, Night Roach is doing, and though he thought about using them for the Stockroach ARG, they made him think about something he didn't like, so he deleted them. But in the same video, we also get the first clear-ish video of Stockroach, aka Jeremy G. He's wearing a neck brace. A brief interlude. Stockroach breaks the news on new developments in the Garfield ARG. It's just too good to gloss over, so here it is.
Recently in my searching, I have begun to come across something that is deeply, deeply unforetold. Now, as you can see, this guy is not a cat. And he is not orange. For all I know, he doesn't even like lasagna. But every time I search for Garfield, he's there. He's taken up real estate. So I'm thinking to myself, what does Andrew have to do with Garfield? And I was getting pretty, I was getting, not angry necessarily, but I was getting pretty mad. I was getting pretty mad about it. Until I looked a little more deeply into the history and the personhood of Andrew Garfield. Or should I say, Andrew Russell Garfield.
On the note of ARGs, Stockroach takes the time to tease the finale of his ARG series, Stockroach. Then there's a few miscellaneous things, like an announcement of T.S. Roach's book of poems that had been accepted by Soot Sprite Books. There's a moment in one of these videos where we can see Jeremy responding to Snake about weird messages he'd been sending. Snake asks if his weird behavior has anything to do with his dad, and so he immediately bails. Stockroach's uploads around this time become a little less frequent, but something is about to happen that will change Stockroach's life forever. Stockroach comes back with some exciting news about cryptocurrency. It seems like his plan for the video is to talk about Hex crypto, and so he launches into a variety of reasons why Hex crypto is superior. He reveals that when he was younger, he'd actually earned some Bitcoin playing Minecraft, and so he goes to check on the value of his wallet.
So I played Minecraft all day every day, and I could only get 2.1 Bitcoin. 2.1, which is nothing. So there's no point in me even keeping this.
But before he decides to delete his wallet, he goes to check its worth, and the realization hits him, thinking back to his family's money troubles, his nights left hungry.
So 2.1 Bitcoin is... It's okay. I'm okay. Shh, I'm okay.
And with this new fortune, he decides to call up someone special to him.
Hey, I was just wondering if you wanted to, Oh, actually, hold on a sec.
And all seems well. He makes more videos and plans to take Ashley out to a fancy restaurant. This particular video is a collection of short tips on how to secure financial assets, and Stockroach being Stockroach, he ends up showing his passwords for all of YouTube to see. When Stockroach comes back, he has an update. He's been receiving odd emails and guesses that they're malicious intent, but he still manages, unfortunately, to run it.
Just download it and take a look. So what they're probably trying to hide is a virus. You never want to double click a virus because, for example, like if you double click a virus, oh no!
The result? Disastrous.
I just wanted to let you know that the program definitely was a virus.
A somber update video the next day reveals the unfortunate truth. His Bitcoin has been stolen.
You probably don't know this because I never reveal anything personal about myself on my YouTube. But there's this girl that I'm probably gonna marry one day. She doesn't know that yet, but we were actually gonna get dinner together next weekend at a really fancy restaurant, and I don't know how I can pay for it now that all of my Bitcoin is gone. And I'm not gonna tell you the restaurant for privacy reasons, but I've been looking at the menu.
And so, a desperate Stockroach is left with one final option.
Hi everyone. This is YouTube.com's The Stockroach. Now, you probably know me as the roach who has it all. And up until a few days ago, that was true. I cruised around the Sea of Japan with my favorite celebrities. I studied painting with the ancient masters of the form. I lifted weights made of solid gold. And I made YouTube videos from my couch, which was stuffed full of $100 bills. And the reason I could do all these amazing things was because I had over $1 million secretly invested in Bitcoin. All that changed on the evening of August 2021, when I accidentally double-clicked a virus. Anyone who has watched my highly successful YouTube series about how to become an investor knows that the #1 rule of investing is never give up. And the #2 rule of investing is if you need money, ask your friends. I'm asking all of my best friends to help me raise a minimum of $57 so that I can take the love of my life out to dinner.
And the campaign goes better than Stockroach would ever anticipate. He gives a final recap of the fundraiser.
Yesterday when I looked at the fundraiser, it was at $163. And then I looked again today and it was at almost at over $200, which is really amazing. And like now I'm trying to think like, how are we going to spend that much money at one restaurant at one time? Because like we're not going to order wine, obviously, because like we're not 21. Or she's not 21. I am 21. Obviously, I'm middle-aged. I mean, she's not. She's middle-aged too. We're both over 21. We're both middle-aged. I don't know why I said that. I misspoke. I just thought it would be kind of peaceful to take a look at the water and just kind of relax and process and just, you know, do something peaceful. Oh no!
After drying off his phone, he promises to give an update from the restaurant tomorrow. He dons some fancy attire.
I ended up going to Goodwill to get a tie. It was a little cheaper. It was $8. But they have a lot of good ties there. I think that's why they put good in the name. But it looks really good with my watermelon colored shirt. Let me show you real quick. There's the watermelon shirt. And there's the tie.
Documents his food, pays for the meal, and reveals a final surprise.
In addition to the $198 that we raised on the fundraiser, I also had a couple donations that came through on PayPal. And so I bought this. I will update you on how everything goes when I get home in like an hour.
We don't get an update until the next day. Oh. Stockroach then releases a cover of Stephen Sondheim's I'm Not That Girl with the description, "This song really connects with me lately, I don't know why." In the video of his cover, he flubs a line saying,
"That's the girl he chose, and heaven knows I'm not that girl."
Giving us a good hint of what might have happened. But by the end of the video, we actually get to see Ashley's point of view of what happened. He never actually told her his feelings, but something she said made him realize she wouldn't be interested in him. After about a week from the original date, Stockroach indirectly explains what happens.
This question that a money grub asked me recently, which was basically like, what should you do if every single dream you've ever had kind of like falls apart all at the same time? And I thought this was a really interesting question as an investor, because when you think about it, money is really just a big dream. It's just a dream that we're all having at the same time. So if you have any advice for the money grub who is in this situation, you can leave it in the comments and I'll pass it along to him.
He presents a famous myth about a fisherman who falls in love with the moon, but when he goes to confess that love to the moon with a ring,
while he's winding up, he's about to throw the ring. The moon is like, "Hey, by the way, I'm actually not attracted to fishermen." And like, she doesn't say it all dismissive like that. Really, she's more like, "Hey, there's actually this other moon that I know, and you know her too, and I have a crush on her, and I think I'm in love with her." And it's not her fault, because she didn't know that he had a ring tied to his fishing stick, and he was about to throw it up into the sky. But the fisherman is pretty cool about it. He's just like, "Cool, you know, good for you. I'm really proud of you." But then also he has to just like sit there for like an hour with a ring tied to the end of his fishing stick.
Stockroach, well, Jeremy, is obviously the fisherman, and he asks his audience what the fisherman should do now that this has happened. Meanwhile, the night roach has been counting down, for a while actually, and that countdown is approaching 0. Stockroach releases another video, reminiscing on the series, and decides friends are overrated when you have a YouTube channel that you can make money from.
I guess what I've learned over the past few time periods of my life is that whatever else I have going on in my life, I can just forget about it, because being the Stockroach is better than being whatever else it is that anybody thinks I am. And I also learned from doing the fundraiser that people want to buy my stuff. So who needs friends? And on that note, I'm very proud to introduce to you probably the best thing that anyone has ever done, including me. So, let's roll the clip. Sorry, that's a different video. That's not the clip we were.
Sorry, that's actually not it either. Yeah, you know, my sons have been using my computer again, and let me get these out of the way in a sec. I'll just tell you, I'm opening up the Stockadoodle store, is what the announcement is, and I'm gonna put out another video tomorrow, kind of showing you everything that we have for sale.
And so he reveals he's opening up a store, while ignoring Ashley the whole time. And then, finally, My Movie Zero is released the next day on the Stockario channel, the culmination of Night Roach's hard work. The facade of Stockario, aka Stockroach, is stripped away by the angel, and he transforms back into a sleeping Jeremy. When dreaming, can't forget things I want to take apart out of me. Why? I am sorry, but it is time to go to the vault now. It has been too long. Listen. The angel whisks him away to the vault. Beyond these gates ye shall find the enchanted ballad of Returnicus. And so, Jeremy approaches the vault, seeing his Stockroach facade in the mirror, and the blocked file in his brain is unlocked.
Hey, I just wanted to make you a quick little video. I did drop my phone, so it is a little bit broken, but I found this digital camera in your closet, which I think is going to be better because I think it's going to fit just right on the tripod. I wanted to let you know that I dropped your camera a little bit and it's not really focusing anymore, but actually I want to make you a video because I remember you told me that you really you said you really like the Nocturne I was playing the other day, and so I actually what this is I'm trying to write my own Nocturne, basically. Hey there, I just wanted to make you a quick little video and show you something that I did. So I'm working on a new part now, and it's supposed to. The new part is supposed to sound sort of like, like healing or getting better, or something like that. I don't know, but so I'll play the new part for you, and then you can hear it. And she told me that she played the video for you and seemed like you really liked it. So that's really nice.
The Night Roach, who has also been submitting some poems to Soot Sprite Books, launches a final attempt at getting the Day Roach, Jeremy, to acknowledge his videos, and uploads a final composition to Etsy. This is last try. Work is finished. Goodbye. And now there's one video of Stockroach left. In the season finale, he shows off the items on the Stockroach store, including 34 sonnets, which you can actually purchase. Here's my copy. And it's a great read, edited by Kevin Y, who provides engaging supplementary commentary in the footnotes. I'm gonna avoid spoiling the poetry, but there is a compilation of Night Roach's editions by the end of it. So if you want a fun collection of poetry by T.S. Roach and a little extra closure on Night Roach, definitely check that out. Jeremy takes notice of the strange Remember composition on the store, downloads it, and begins to play the composition. At first, hesitantly playing the notes. There's caution in his performance, but it feels familiar. A pause. And now, more confident, the melody seeming like one he'd always known, feeling the weight of the song. And this is the climax, the moment the moment Jeremy is able to confront what he's been hiding from, the memory of the composition he wrote for his father. It's a powerful moment, and though I try, I can't capture that power while narrating the series. So please check out this performance yourself. But finally, impossibly, he finishes the composition. He opens the folder he'd been avoiding. He's remembered. And at long last, he reaches out to Ashley, his best friend.
Hello?
Hey. Sorry, just hold on a sec.
Throughout this video, I've compiled definitive evidence that Stockroach is not who he says he is. The evidence speaks for itself. Beloved T.S. Roach is actually a high schooler by the name of Jeremy Gilbert, who made the YouTube series in a fake-it-to-make-it-esque attempt at financial success. The Stockroach persona is born at a difficult time in his life. Either his father is already in the hospital or has passed away by the start of the series. This assumption comes from the early appearance of an essay called Free Writing About Dad, as early as the third video on the channel. Later on in the series, we see a letter Jeremy wrote to his mother on February 5th of 2020, explaining how he's sorry but he must run away. We don't hear from him for a while, but after a significant hiatus, Stockroach returns and explains he's been away due to catching COVID. While there is some reference to his father having abandoned his family, provided I deciphered the slurred diary entry in the FAQ entry correctly, I believe this may have been his birth father due to how the incident occurred when he was little Jeremy, and how the videos of him playing Nocturne seem to have been recent. Thus, most references to Dad in this series are likely to his stepfather. This may also be a stretch, but I have a theory. In the diary entry called I Remember, there's references to a series of events: Dad's camera, Nocturne, a freeway at night beeping the silence. I take this to mean that Jeremy runs from home due to his desire to escape taking medication and to escape memories of a household that remind him of his late stepdad, and is either involved in a car crash after stealing his mom's car, or is struck by a car when he tries to cross the freeway. He's taken to the hospital and falls into a coma. When he returns, his memories are fuzzy, but there's also a part of him that doesn't want to remember his reason for fleeing home. That's why he tends to delete folders or files that mention his father in a blind panic. He's not ready to face what happened. Eventually, Jeremy organically comes to the conclusion that he likely didn't have COVID, but he's in no rush to figure out what happened to him, instead taking every avenue to avoid thinking about it. He skips his medication and delves more into the escapism of ARGs and fantasy worlds to avoid reconciling with the past. While the daytime part of Jeremy continues to live a life of uneasy ignorance, his night roach or subconscious counterpart tirelessly works to get Jeremy to confront his past through constructing reminders of his Nocturne composition, a composition he'd made to cheer up and attempt to hasten the healing process of his late father. My Movie Zero shows the footage he'd recorded of the composition in process, but it's not clear if his father was ever able to see the finished piece. By completing the composition and playing it a final time at the series' conclusion, Jeremy finally makes peace with the past and is able to at least talk about what happened with his best friend Ashley. Ultimately, Stockroach is an incredibly funny, heartfelt, and human series that masterfully tells its story through the creative details Jeremy accidentally exposes, and his ever-optimistic character. The mastermind behind this series is a familiar name, Kevin Y., editor of the 34 Sonnets, who also happens to be a real person. He actually went to work on another great series of animated shorts called Ashpagap, which I highly recommend you check out. Kevin Y. recently started a YouTube channel where he makes short essays on a variety of topics from literature, films, ARGs, animation, and theater. If you'd like to support and get exclusive updates on more of Kevin's work, please check out his Patreon as well. I also want to thank Trombone Knuckles and Mediocre Bottle and the Vehemence Discord for some additional help in documenting Stockroach while it was going on. Vehemence is a community that helps document, create, and play ARGs/unfiction series, so check them out if you're interested in some other underrated series. Speaking more thematically, Stockroach does a great job at fostering empathy towards Jeremy, and outside of the series, I think it's an effective way to encourage more empathy towards people who've gotten entrapped with get-rich-quick schemes by showcasing how this ends up happening. Jeremy is exaggerated in his naivety and technological incapacities, but he's still someone who desires money due to living in poverty. He has a single mother who, either due to neglect or lack of money, seems to run into difficulties feeding their family. Many of the people who ended up falling for things like Ponzi schemes, multi-level marketing schemes, and investment scams tend to be people who are desperate and vulnerable. And when it comes to investment and cryptocurrency scams, their lack of knowledge on technology and the stock market is utilized to encourage them to take on immense risk and part with their money. Jeremy is a victim. Notably, Hexcoin's founder, Richard Hart, was eventually charged with fraud by the SEC and has a long history of running investment scams. But due to Jeremy's fake it to make it mentality, he decides to copy the finance gurus that conned him. Only he doesn't quite understand that they're trying to con him, so the resulting series he makes is fairly innocent. So while Jeremy tries to fake stone-cold confidence in promoting Hexcoin, in truth, he's desperate for this scam to succeed in order to have funds to help out his family, and of course, arguably selfish desires to be rich in order to impress someone he likes. Stockroach also doesn't delve into the darker side of financial scams, where those who fall victim to them can succumb to gambling addictions that harm those around them, or employ predatory tactics of their own, especially in the cases of MLMs. While Jeremy is easier to empathize with due to not really hurting anyone, I still think an empathetic view towards those who have fallen victim to these scams is more useful for encouraging victims who may still be ensnared by the sunk cost fallacy to escape their situations, and so I appreciate that angle of viewing this series. Stockroach also demonstrates an interesting impact of the internet's widespread use, making moments public that would otherwise be kept private. Jeremy's experiences are an exaggerated look into the coming-of-age struggles many teenagers experience, but they also highlight the intensity of how dire those struggles feel in that time period. To Jeremy, his crush on Ashley is all-encompassing, and he's plagued by uncertainty about his appearance, finances, and the repressive weight of a personal tragedy. And while normally those experiences would be felt in a more isolated internal way, or limited to being shared with one's family and close friends, the internet opens a window into some of the most stressful moments of a stranger's teenage years. A window that can be viewed by complete strangers, and worse, a window that can be knocked on. It's Jeremy's exposure to online finance gurus that implant the idea that getting rich off crypto is necessary to win Ashley's heart. And a lot of what he does on the channel is focused on internet buzzwords like monetization or putting on a successful persona he believes is the key for his success. While Jeremy is fortunately treated fairly kindly by the internet, had a less empathetic group of people interacted with the web series, his online experiences could have been much more negative. Though with Jeremy's inherent optimistic outlook, it'd probably take a lot to dour his mood. But not everyone's experience online is like Jeremy's, and having one's oftentimes in retrospect a bit embarrassing, vulnerable teenage moments cemented on the internet can leave scars if anyone who chooses to interact with the videos intend to hurt. Which brings me to the next concept I want to explore. Jeremy spends most of the series pretending to be someone he's not. When being sincere on the internet carries the risk of your sincerity seeming embarrassing or cringe, it's no wonder the internet is a deeply ironic place, and it's no wonder Jeremy invents the 30s plus Stockroach as his internet persona. While Jeremy's recollection of what happened to his father is him making peace with that memory he'd rather not remember, I also like to interpret it as him recognizing he doesn't need to utilize the Stockroach persona to feel okay with himself, and he doesn't need to continue posting on the channel. While I don't see Stockroach as an ironic persona, it still behaves as a kind of mask for him to conceal the insecurities he has about the real Jeremy, and as a sort of coping mechanism, using the false confidence of Stockroach and hoping to internalize it, or using the persona of an older and wiser and more successful person to work out how to deal with his real-life situations. And while Jeremy is definitely the butt of a lot of jokes in the series, like with everyone else in this video, I felt myself heavily rooting for him. His perhaps naive but charming optimism in the face of his struggles is admirable. The series highlights an interesting presentation of satire that doesn't demean its subject but fosters empathy towards them, and depicts a sense of optimism throughout its portrayal of its comedy. Joe Pera's comedy feels very similar to me, in that he highlights a very kind-hearted, sincere exploration of a world in an absurdist fashion. His comedy toes the line between sincerity and satire, seeming to both embrace and poke fun at aspects of his character. There's another person.
And now, a brief message.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Y. I am allegedly the creator, writer, director of the Stockroach. And first off, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching Sagan Hawks' super cool video. I actually haven't seen it yet, so technically I don't know that it's super cool, but I'm just gonna take it completely on faith that it is, and that he's saying lots of nice stuff about me and about the series that I allegedly created. So I thought this would be a good time to announce a project that I'm just getting started on with some friends, and we have told absolutely nobody about this. So if you're watching this and you look at the view count and it says like 100, that means that you are literally the 100th person to hear about this. And if it says like 1 million, to be honest, that's a little bit less exciting, but it's still cool, and I think you should still feel special. So the project is my first ever live action short film. It's called Stargirl 27, and we're doing this thing up so professional. We're gonna use cameras, we're gonna use microphones, we're gonna use actors, we're gonna spend money on props, we're gonna actually build a giant puppet for one of the scenes. But that's technically a spoiler, so forget that I said that. Stargirl 27 tells the story of an up-and-coming influencer in the make contact with real aliens sphere who gets evicted and locked out of her apartment and has to figure out how to survive a night in New York City all by herself. And I should also say that it's absolutely not an animated film, so like I have no idea why I just did all those drawings for this little teaser. That was 10 hours of my life that I'm never going to get back. But the reason I bring this up is that part of the impetus behind writing Stargirl 27 was that I wanted to take some of the themes and ideas from the Stockroach and see if I could translate them into a more traditional narrative format. So if you enjoy the Stockroach, I really think you're gonna enjoy this too. And if you follow my main YouTube channel, YKevinY, that's where I'll be posting all the updates and everything like that as they come through. All right, that's all I got for you. I now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
There's another person I want to highlight that I feel captures this odd demonstration of empathetic comedy, of inherently optimistic outlook towards the absurd human condition. Let me introduce you to... Zane Lofton is not who you'd think of as a typical successful game developer. He's a controversial figure, prone to lashing out at game reviewers and starting fights on social media. And his game is, shall we say, a bit rough around the edges. Filled with typos, bugs, and juvenile humor, it'd be easy to assume Zane was a teenager when he made this game. And well, that's partially true.
When I was 16, I designed a computer game in this notebook, and it was awesome. But then, it got lost. Or was it?
Zane conceived of the game based around comics he'd made at the time, and with the help of his childhood acquaintance, Adam Chase, released the game in his late 30s.
I am the X-Slayer.
And it'd be easy to assume Zane's game comes from a place of pure irony, poking fun at what an edgy 15-year-old might find cool in the late 90s, early 2000s. But look deeper into both the game and Zane, and you'll find a strong foundation of sincerity, that he genuinely believes this stuff is still cool. And deeper, past the toilet humor and badassery of a self-indulgent boomer shooter, you can see Zane's hometown of Boise, Idaho lovingly memorialized in retro graphics. A fall potato festival, perhaps part of a fond yearly tradition of Zane's, aptly captured in the style of the game. And as the main character of Slayer's X is a sort of extra cool and powerful self-insert of Zane, it'd be easy to think that he'd want to over-exaggerate every aspect of his life. But instead he incorporates some mundane truths. He works a low-paying job at a dollar saver. He's a famous CEO and comic creator in-game, but he's also shown living with his mom in a one-bedroom apartment. His mom sacrificing the bedroom for Zane and sleeping on a couch in the living room. And there's tons of tiny details that add to the life of this world. The small penguin stuffed animals around his mom's bedroom, the very genuine photo of them together, Zane's inclusion and admiration of his kid's art in an in-game secret. He's likely not in the best financial terms, but he got a chance, if the game performs well, to change the life of him and his son. Oh my god, has my hair looked crazy like that this whole time? I could go on and on about all the love and attention to detail that was put into this game, but instead, I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. There's a lot more that I can't cover just in this video. But this depiction of Zane, through his games and his social media presence, doesn't shy away from displaying its flaws. The game still has its rough elements, and Zane is a flawed character, to the point his programmer takes a jab at him and complains he's a pain to work with, ridiculing him for his overly nostalgic, cool self-insert game. But this humanization of him, this acknowledgement that he's a complex human being, gives us a way to enjoy the silliness and satirical nature of the world he's made, while still recognizing the heart in it. Side note, the music in this game is top-notch. I would gladly listen to another Seepage album. But pulling back the curtain, Zane also isn't real. He's a character from the game Hypnospace Outlaw, another fantastic game by Jay Tholen. Jay Tholen, in reality, helped develop Slayers X, and it's his skill at humanizing the satirical and portraying his characters with immense empathy that brings such depth to his games. And whereas Hypnospace is never portrayed as unfiction, Zane is, and that commitment to portraying Zane grants greater depth to the game, expanding the story into his interactions online and even the interviews he gives about his game development process. Additionally, Zane's characterization helps to chip away at the internet's tendency to dehumanize each other online into one-dimensional characters, fragments of our whole that come off as edgy, embarrassing, or ironic. And through literally depicting Zane as fictional, Jay is able to call into question the tendency to view Zane as a one-dimensional character. He's a human being, flawed and nostalgic, but his life extends beyond your mom jokes and internet fights, at least in his fictional world. Hypnospace also touches on a lot of these themes, so if you've never played it and you enjoy the idea of solving puzzles by digging into obscure subcultures of the fictional internet, definitely check that out as well. I think I've gone long enough without talking about it, so here it is. Cringe culture. That term, that phenomenon, may have already come to your mind as I've discussed these series so far. A reaction parts of the internet have when they stumble upon something cringeworthy. An embarrassing YouTube clip, an unfunny joke that falls flat, a subculture surrounding an unconventional interest. To some, these sorts of things will trigger a genuinely intense reaction. The need to look away, squint your eyes, or back away from the screen. You cringe. And for some, this reaction leads to spite, anger, or a feeling of superiority. At least I'm not like that. And so naturally, the internet being the internet, that can sometimes lead to mockery or scorn. And for a time, probably peaking around the year 2016, that was a genuine staple of the internet. Cringe compilations. Hell, the commentary genre started here. Remember that? Before Drew Gooden and Danny Gonzalez, commentary channels meant edgy teens mocking videos of furries over Counter-Strike gameplay. Entire channels dedicated to finding weird people, embarrassing videos, or cringy SJWs, and turning it into content based on mockery. And the essence of that subculture still permeates the internet. In many ways, the sentence of being cringe is a fate worse than any other online. I think you could argue that a sort of connective tissue throughout all these series I've discussed so far has been some element of cringe. Henry's complete social awkwardness and terrible cooking, Alan's stumbling over words and nonsense tutorials, Stockroach's fumbling into revealing embarrassing personal information. What's interesting is that there's another one of these made-up guys that sort of falls on the other side of the coin in an interesting way. A channel dedicated to destroying cringe IPs and fan bases. Roblox, Undertale, Five Nights at Freddy's. Cringer Reviews, aka Cameron, is a YouTuber who will look very familiar to those of you who saw the advent of the too cool, edgy PNG tubers of the 2010s. His character was masterminded by frequent collaborators Ben Silly and Funny Bob. He's opinionated.
Terrible graphics to garbage storyline, it's a mess. Now, I've never played the game myself.
He's critical.
Garbage.
And he's coming for cringe.
Let's begin, because I'm showing no mercy on this game.
It's not particularly long, and doesn't have too much hidden lore, so I won't go too deeply into it, but it functions as a perfect satire of these kinds of channels. What's really interesting though, is even with an almost wholly unlikable character like Cameron, the series reaches beyond a few times, and shows that he's a little more than just a one-dimensional bit.
All I've been doing is giving my thoughts on unpleasant things on the internet, give myself a break every now and then, and in the end, it's always the same. I come back and I do it all over again. And if there's anything I've learned in these strange 7 months, it's that there's more to life than this, and that's why this video is going to be a little different. Essentially, this video is going to be me rambling about life, mostly the good things. I don't plan on being negative in this video.
You can see that there's a level to Cameron that he's mostly shielding from his viewers. He even likes some of the media he lampoons, but does so anyway to avoid the oh-so-terrifying fate of becoming Cringe himself. The ending is too good to spoil, but I do think that that brief interlude is interesting and continues in the same vein as these other series. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there's a channel that, to be fair, I haven't watched all of, but I am weirdly addicted to. Minecraft Fan 76 is a small Minecraft Let's Play channel run by Eugene Howell Flats.
This is Minecraft Fan 76, Eugene Howell Flats here, doing my video dating application.
While it's never been confirmed whether or not Eugene is actually a character or a genuine person, his Bitcoin video...
So I was looking up how to spend my money that I got from YouTube or whatever. Apparently what a lot of people do is they like to put it into something called Bitcoin or something, Bitcoin. So I was looking that up and I bought me one.
And Dr. Pepper tasting video.
So what I've got here is a finely aged Diet Dr. Pepper. It's aged approximately 7 months because I got it and I put it in a room and I forgot about it. It mixes the flavor around it and activates it, so I'm just going to do that now. So, okay, that should be adequate. Oh god, that's horrible! I'm done. Maybe if I take another drink, it'll be a bit better the second time around.
I don't know. I get the feeling there's an element of humor here. Despite him likely being a sort of parody of kids making Minecraft Let's Plays, he's also just unironically entertaining to watch. It feels like he's blurring the lines between satire and sincerity. Eugene just feels like a genuine portrayal of a kid making gaming videos, and even if he is a little goofy, his portrayal doesn't feel mean, it just feels honest. Sort of on that note, and kind of the whole reason I brought up this cringe aspect, I want to quickly make a point here about our reactions to cringe and how these series can help us understand them. There's a phrase that's been going around: don't kill the part of you that's cringe, kill the part that cringes. It's an understandable reaction to the overly ironic, judgmental atmosphere of the internet. The culture around deeming things cringe is mean-spirited and harmful. But I think this phrase is a little oversimplistic. In reality, we can't always control whether we cringe at things. Personally, I am incredibly susceptible to secondhand embarrassment. I cringe all the time. And while some of the time the things we cringe at are harmless, other times it is a genuine reaction to something harmful. No one would tell Henry to kill the part of him that cringes while he's filming people at his house without their permission, or busting in on them while Airbnb-ing them in his closet. We can't always control if we cringe, and there are times when it's genuinely a helpful learning tool for ourselves. Sometimes we cringe at our younger selves because we weren't making as good choices as we are now. I think where the problem lies is in our reaction to cringe. Cringe is not pleasant, and so I think many people incorrectly react to it with anger. But I think the source of that feeling is actually one deeply rooted in empathy. I think we cringe sometimes because we're imagining ourselves in that situation, or projecting something similar we've done in the past. The sense of mockery comes from a feeling of, well, I would never do that, but we're only thinking that because we've input ourselves onto this person. It's a deeply empathetic experience where we see ourselves in someone else's shoes. And look, sometimes we should just stop cringing. We don't have to like everything, but sometimes it just comes from a place of being unwilling to understand other people. But other times, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. Instead of reacting to that with a knee-jerk outburst of anger, I think we should hold on to that empathy. The series we've been over continuously show us people making social missteps and doing embarrassing things, but overwhelmingly, these characters are met with support. Because these series also choose to dig deeper than the surface. They choose to humanize and understand them, build them out into people who, like all of us, have done something embarrassing or messed up to varying degrees, but it makes them no less deserving of understanding. It makes them no less human. I don't think we should just kill the part of us that cringes. What we need to do is recognize that it is just as much a part of us as the part of us that will go on to do something cringy in the future. Because being cringe is not a death sentence, it's just another part of being alive. Here we are at the end. You can tell it's the end because I'm just resorted to holding my microphone. I've been working on this video for 2 months, and I've had it in the works in the back of my mind since way before then. Here I am at the end, and I feel this way at the end of a lot of my videos where I'm just like, there's no way this can be a good video. I hope that this has been somewhat of worth. I just need to finish it so I can move on to the next thing, you know? And I am really excited for the next thing, and I think a good portion of this video is good. It's just been very difficult at the end here, and I'm completely exhausted by it. I hope that you got something out of it. Anyway, let's let's actually move on to what I was going to talk about. The final piece of the puzzle, and the thing that inspired me to bring all these characters together for this video, are these series' combinations of parody and humanity, sincerity and satire. All of these characters could be reduced to simple caricatures meant to satirize something. Poorly made tutorial videos, crypto grifters, and children pretending to be adults online, edgy teenagers of the 90s and edgy teenagers of the 2010s, kids Minecraft Let's Plays. But what makes them unique is that they choose to go beyond that. They explore these characters more deeply, understanding the humanity in them, fleshing out the genuine parts of them. Instead of a simple deconstruction of a stereotype, these series use satirization to construct a complicated person, a character filled with flaws and absurdities like us all, but with the complexity that goes beyond that. They use these satirized caricatures to then interrogate the internet's proclivity to simply poke fun, to hide from the genuine and celebrate the ironic. They simultaneously present themselves through sincere character exploration and as an ironic deconstruction of them. The result is a complicated balance between parody and sincerity. I've touched on it a bit throughout this video, but the internet is a deeply ironic place. I think that's one of the reasons cringe culture became so prevalent. The fear of doing something embarrassing or showing any kind of sincerity, being vulnerable in a way that could open you up to mockery, has led to the only safe mode of interaction on the single largest communication network to ever exist to be through a mask of irony. In turn, it's led to some pretty strange phenomenon. How many times have you seen a message or a video that you are unable to discern whether it is a parody, engagement bait, or a genuine thought? How do you ever know what's real, who is real, what they're really thinking? Our internet masks, built in with all of that self-protective irony, become all the more ingrained in our personalities as the internet takes up more and more of our lives. But I think that deep down we miss the sincere, the open and genuine, the ability to express ourselves unapologetically, to actually care about something. And I think that these series reflect that condition. They use the insincere modus operandi of the internet to express sincerity. They're informed both by the self-awareness and ultra self-conscious internet and by the genuine need to say something sincere, to be earnest. The result are series that embrace the absurdity of being human, the things that are embarrassing, that are humorous, but they aren't wholly cynical. Instead, they embrace that as a part of their humanity, letting us recognize that in ourselves. They're a part of the illogical, the absurd, and the human world that we experience. So, yeah, like many of my other videos, I find myself here at the end completely exhausted and unsure of how to end. So, check out all the series. Look at my Patreon if you want. The music is on my Patreon to download. The song during the title sequence is up on Spotify. Link in the description and in the pinned comment. Bye.